everyone. Welcome back to Hope for Today. I hope you're doing well. I hope you had a great Easter, good holiday, whatever you want to call that holiday. I think the same thing as I think of for Christmas, the reason for the season. And you think about it, whether it's Christmas or it's Easter, any of these holidays, it's all about Him, what He did for us. And what it really means is that we can have eternal life, right? Does it really matter if we do this, that, or the next thing, or call it this, that, or the next thing? I don't think so. What it matters is what's the reason for that particular season. So as promised, I want to tell you an Easter story that do I have tissues? Yes. Hang on a second. You might have to grab some tissues. And the reason I say that is, to me, this is a very touching story. I heard it took me back a little bit because, I don't know, do you ever, maybe it's just me. You can leave a comment. I'd love to hear from some of you. If you're like this, you ever feel like, why bother? Does it really matter? Does it matter what I do? And I know more for women, I think, than men. So I know I have men and women on here. And guys, if you want to jump in here and leave a comment and give some feedback. But I think women really suffer more from low self-esteem than the guys. I think guys, they have a job and, what do you, the guy talk, what do you do? Oh, I'm a plumber. What do you do? Oh, I work for the post office. And so guys relate themselves to their position of work. And women, some work, some don't work some work outside the home, some work inside the home. I should clarify that. But we don't tend to say, so what do you do? It's just different. And I think a lot of times I get excited, and I want to serve the Lord and I want to do, and I get myself all excited, and then I don't get the response. Expectations, we're not supposed to have any. We're here to do a job without expectations. My dad drilled that in my head, but did it go in? No. I'm a human. I get excited. I'm excited about something. I hope you're excited about it. And can we be excited together? Because I'll be excited for you. Well, that doesn't always happen. How many times have we talked to someone and, right, do you like it? Do you think it's a good idea? And you're kind of coaching them to you're going to come on board with me? And you get, yeah, that's nice. And I always feel like this weight, oh, okay, So let me read a verse to you. Proverbs 19:21. Many are the plans in the mind of a man, but it is the purpose of the Lord that will stand. We can look back in the history of the Bible. I remember as a kid looking back at Adam and Eve. And I would say to my parents, well, if I was God, I never would have created Adam and Eve. And my mother, I remember, how could you say that? She got all upset with me. And I said, well, if I was God and I'm all-knowing and I knew Adam and Eve would eventually sin and turn on me and go against everything I told them, why would I create them in the first place when it's going to go downhill from there? And, when the Lord created Adam and Eve, it wasn't well, let me have a moment's think and let me consider doing this. God's all-knowing. He's from Alpha and the Omega. He's the beginning to the end, and He knows what's going on. And He knew that eventually His Son would have to die, and there would be the rapture and blah, 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 and so on and so forth. And so in my innocent mind, I'd be like, I wouldn't be bothered doing it. But we don't know the mind of Christ. We don't know the purpose of what God has and why He does what He does. And, and there's a mystery in that. So does it really matter what I do? You ever feel like your words are empty? I guess that's a good way of looking at it. Do you feel like your words are empty? Have you ever witnessed to someone and you wonder, I don't know, witness to a relative and you're like, oh, it's been 20 years I've been praying for that person and sharing the gospel and got nothing. We have a doctor that we go to that probably for about 5 years now, we've witnessed to him. Even longer than that, probably a little bit longer than that. And I remember during COVID, he had to homeschool his children because, that's the way things were going, and asked me for information because he knew that we homeschooled. So, of course, what I sent him was Christian information, knowing that I have witnessed to him. Well, since then, he has listened to my podcast. He might be listening to this one, and he'll know who he is. And he has listened to our oldest son do some preaching, and he's very curious about our family. He's always asking questions, and you can see that curiosity. And we've witnessed. Well, circumstances have changed, and we don't see him like we used to. And I sometimes feel that burden of, I got to still stay connected. And I'm like, you know what? I did my job. I have shared the gospel with him. We've laid out the whole 9 yards of what he needs to do. Now the ball's in his court. And in this situation, we've had to move on for different reasons, and I might not see him as often or even at all, but I know that he's had the gospel. Does it matter? It does matter, because he's a lost soul that's going to hell. He's someone that needs the Lord. He's someone that God has put in my path, and he has and deserves every right to hear the gospel like anybody else. How many times does somebody need to hear the gospel? Once. That's it. You've heard it. Now it's your responsibility. What do you do with it? Now, that's not to say God is harsh and you heard it once, that's it, you're done, move on. No, the Lord sometimes, with certain people, circumstances surrounding and whatnot, the Lord brings other people in their path, and the gospel's presented over and over. Does it matter? Does it matter? Does it matter that we be bothered with people? Yes, it does. There's 2 songs that come to mind, and then I'm going to tell you the Easter story, and we'll close with that. People Need the Lord. You know that song? If you don't, Google it, YouTube it, you can listen to the lyrics. People need the Lord. What else is there in life? When the rubber hits the road. I had a situation at home about 2 weeks ago. My husband got injured, and it was it's hard to explain, but it was a weird situation. And I said to him, should I call 911? And he said, no, give me a minute. And I started verbally praying out loud, Lord, I need help. Like, this is a 911 emergency, Lord. It's a 911 prayer. What do I need to do? How do I need to react? Lord, give me wisdom, give me guidance. Lord, send me help. And within 5 minutes, the situation fixed itself and all was good. I had another situation. Our car broke down the other day. It was torrential downpours. It was cold. It was rainy. It was not in the best spot. And I was like, oh. We prayed. I said, Lord, give me help. I need wisdom. Same thing. A 911 type of call, and the Lord was there. People need the Lord. I need the Lord for my everyday. People need the Lord for salvation. I need the Lord now that I'm saved. I need every step I take, every decision I make, everywhere I go. Who do I want to have as friends? Where should my kids go to college? Who should they marry? I now have a grandson. Who, what, where, and how? What do I need to be praying about? People need the Lord. My grandson needs the Lord. Does he need me? Yes, of course he needs me. But he needs the Lord. The other song that comes to mind is Thank You. Oh, good grief. I cannot listen to that song without crying. Thank you for giving to the Lord. And if you haven't heard it, grab your tissues. You're going to need it. But it's all about thanking the people that have given and invested. Did it matter? It does matter. There are, other than, my dad and my father-in-law, my mother-in-law, people that invested in my life that are in heaven. There are people in church and missionaries that prayed for us, and the list goes on and on. When I was a kid, Sunday school teachers and people that invested in my life. Okay, enough is enough. What's the story, Lynn? Let me read the verse one more time for you. Then I'm going to tell you the story. We're going to end. Proverbs 19:21. Many are the plans in the mind of a man, but it is the purpose of the Lord that will stand. God has a purpose in everything that he asks us to do. So there was a man that was told by the Lord, I need you to go, when you go to work tomorrow, I need you to talk to, we're going to say John, okay? There's a John and there's a Bill. So this guy went in and the Lord said, I want you to talk to John and I want you to invite him to church for Easter. It was a Saturday. And John said, Lord, wait a minute, time out. The gentleman you want me to speak to, are you sure? Because he's an atheist. He has made it very clear in the workspace. He wants nothing to do with God. He doesn't believe in God. He just makes it abundantly clear. Don't even begin to talk to me about Bible, God, and all the rest. Nope, that's who the Lord told him. Really, Lord? Let me ask you a quick question. Does it matter? Does it matter? So John went to work, and it was a mailroom that he worked in the organization, the corporate office that he was in. He was a person that worked in the mailroom. He went down, and here's John sorting the mail, doing the thing. Hey, John, what are you doing tomorrow? I don't know, I'm off. You want to come to church with me? You kidding me? Me go to church? Do you know who I am? You know what I stand for? Yeah, I want to invite you to church. It's Easter. I think you need church. I'm not going to church. This is ridiculous. Who do you think you're talking to? And the conversation continues. So this gentleman went and talked to John and he did what God told him to do. So there is a purpose let me read it again. But it is the purpose of the Lord that will stand. Many are the plans in the mind of a man. So here he goes, talks to John. Really? But the purpose of the Lord will stand. He did what God told him to do. Does it matter? It does matter. We don't always see the whole picture. So Easter Sunday comes, no John. Looks around. Maybe he'll come late. As people walk in late, we look back to see who's coming in late. No John. Fast forward 4 years later. This gentleman's at church. Guy comes up to him. Pretty big church, so it's not like you know everybody at the church. Guy comes up to him and he says, John. Or, no, to this gentleman. His name wasn't John. This was Steve. So, hey, Steve. He says, hey, I just wanted to connect with you. My name's Bill, and I don't know if you know who I am. He says, no, I'm sorry, I don't think I do. He said, well, I just wanted to thank you. Get your tissues. Thank me? Yeah, I want to thank you. He said, I got saved 4 years ago on Easter Sunday. My wife, she's saved. My 3 girls are saved because of you. Does it matter? I got to get the tissues. We will continue this story. And if you don't have a tear in the corner of your eye when it comes to things of the Lord, you might want to check your heart and your attitude. Because we should always have a tear in the corner of our eye for the things of the Lord. So this guy, Bill, says to Steve, remember 4 years ago you were in the mailroom and you were talking to John? How did you know that? I was there. You were over here and you were sorting the mail and you were doing stuff with John and inviting him to church. Well, you didn't know I came in the back door of the mailroom and I was putting some bags down on the corner of the room. And I'll tell you, that week was a rough week for me. And I started saying, praying. I didn't know what I was doing. And I was praying, if you're God and you're real and you're out there. And he said, I was searching. He says, it was such a rough week for me and my family. He said, and I pray that if you're real, today you will show me that you're real. He said, so I go to work and I walk in the mailroom and here you are talking to this guy, John, and inviting him to church and sharing a little bit about your testimony. And he said, I listened. I listened with all my ears. And he said, that next Sunday, you mentioned what church you went to. We came to this church. I got saved. He said, then I brought my wife and my kids. 4 years later, we're involved. My wife's teaching Sunday school. My girls go to the youth group. He says, we're heavily involved in different ministries of the church. And I wanted to thank you. Does it matter? Proverbs 19:21. Many are the plans in the mind of a man, but it is the purpose of the Lord that will stand. Have you ever shined your light? Let people expose yourself that, you're a Christian and you do what you think is right. And you share, however you share, and you walk away feeling empty. Did it matter? I'm sure Steve felt like when he talked to John, it didn't matter. But then 4 years later to meet Bill, who overheard that purpose when God said, go speak to John. Now, maybe John, somewhere down the road, maybe that still meant something to him. Who knows? The seed could have been planted. But it was somebody off in the distance that needed to hear this message. Maybe Bill, I don't know. Maybe this guy, Bill, if you were to do one-on-one directly, maybe he wouldn't have been able to cope with it. Or, sometimes people need an indirect way, whatever. The verse says, but it is the purpose of the Lord that will stand. Does it matter? Yes, it matters. Does it matter what we do? Yes, it matters. So take that Easter story and take your tissues and pray over it and ask the Lord, Lord, what should I be doing? Who should I be talking to? Because it does matter. All right, we'll catch you all next week on the next podcast.